Mason Greenwood looking set to leave Manchester United. Joshua Zirkzee apparently turning down AC Milan and favouring a move to United. And Rabiot looks like he will join as a free transfer. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's show. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel as well. I go live every single day in the morning and in the evening. And if anything breaks during the day, I do go live as well. So make sure you subscribe. We're only 5 subscribers away from 23,500. So if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe and get involved here on Daily Red Devil. Right, so I want to first start off the show by looking a little bit at some quotes that have come out from Jim Ratcliffe. Now, we've been talking about Jean-Claire Todibo on this channel for months, literally months. And every time his name gets brought up, I bring up the same issue, that Manchester United are unable to sign a player from Nice because we are going to compete in the same competition. And obviously, people seem to have just completely forgotten about this, you know? And a tweet came out yesterday from Fabrizio Romano saying effectively what I've just said. And everyone's gone into a complete meltdown. Everyone's like, what the hell's going on? It's a disgrace. How has this happened? But the rules have been written on the UEFA website since July 2023. This was when the rule came in. The rule came in because Red Bull Salzburg sold Benjamin Sesko to Red Bull Leipzig for a fee of 20 million euros, which was about half of his market value. And the reason they did that was because they're both owned by the same people. So instead of selling him to another club, they said, let's sell him to another club that we own, send him there, watch his value go up, and then we'll sell him for even more in the future. So that was the reason why this rule's been brought in. Is it a stupid rule? Maybe. But being completely honest, I actually agree with it. I think that it does create an unfair advantage. If Manchester United can go and buy all of Nice's best players and then we have to play them in the same competition, that does create an unfair advantage, doesn't it? And it's clear to see that Jim Ratcliffe favours Manchester United over Nice, which of course he should do. And this interview kind of says that. But there were some really interesting quotes that came out from Jim Ratcliffe, so I wanted to run through some of it. And the one which I really wanted to focus on was that apparently he says that the coach isn't the main issue at Manchester United. He says it's a sports club. It needs to be competitive. It needs a degree of intensity, but with a supportive side to it, because you are dealing with players who are relatively young. It hasn't had that type of environment historically. And you know what? I have to applaud him for that. And there's been too many instances over the last decade where the Glazers have got away with murder and they've always just blamed the manager. It's never been their fault. It was never Ed Woodward's fault. It was never John Murtough or Richard Arnold's fault. It was always, let's throw the manager under the bus, get a new manager, and everything will be great again. And we haven't won the Premier League for over a decade. And the reason for that is because we haven't actually looked inside the club. We haven't sorted out behind the scenes. We've effectively been running a business without the proper people in the proper places. And every single time, it's been the manager who would take the fall. And I really respect Jim Ratcliffe for saying what he's just said publicly, because it's what Manchester United fans have been thinking for a long time. There are still some fans who think that sack Erik ten Hag and will win the Champions League. You know, like, some people just like to be negative. But it's clear to see that if we sort out the back, you know, the director of football, the CEO, the scouts, the head of recruitment, the technical director, if we sort out all of these positions, it will improve our chances of getting back to where we used to be. And I think a lot of people kind of seem to forget that. But it's great that Jim Ratcliffe's acknowledged it. And, you know, that this is an interview he's done with Bloomberg. It's out there for everybody to go and watch. I would encourage you to go and watch it once you finish watching this video. I think it's on the Bloomberg YouTube channel. He talks about all sorts of different things. And yeah, I think it's the first interview he's done since Erik ten Hag's been announced as staying. So yeah, that's really, really exciting. And he also goes on to say of where he wants Manchester United to become. And effectively, he says that they're looking at the Real Madrid model. They want Manchester United to be Real Madrid. And I agree with that. He points out that over the last 10 years, Manchester United have spent net 1.1 billion in 10 years on players, which is ridiculous. When you look at the players we've bought, we haven't won a single Premier League trophy in that period, right? You then compare that with Real Madrid. Real Madrid in the last decade have only spent 200 million net. So about a fifth of what we've spent. And to this day, they've got 6 or 7 players worth over 100 million. Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Mbappe, There's probably some others that I've forgotten, but they've got a whole list of world-class players, whereas Manchester United probably have none, realistically. Like, none of our players are worth over 100 million, are they? Bruno's probably the closest, and he's probably worth about 70, 80. So it shows how bad we've been run for the last 10, 15 years. And I really, really respect Jim Ratcliffe for highlighting this, because the Glazers would never throw themselves under the bus. You know, they would always blame someone else. They'd always say it was the manager. They would, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that just before we get into all the transfer related stuff, because I thought it was interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Adrien Rabiot, though. And everybody who's watching the video right now, I want you to let me know in the comments section. Should Manchester United sign Adrien Rabiot as a free transfer this summer? Let me know. You can either just say Rabiot yes or Rabiot no in the comment section. If you want to give a little bit more of an answer, then obviously feel free to do that. But right now, get in the comment section and let me know Rabiot yes or Rabiot no. But the headline this morning is that apparently Adrien Rabiot is waiting for Manchester United transfer as Erik ten Hag eyes Chelsea hijack. So there are multiple clubs who are interested in signing Rabiot. He's out of contract. He's available as a free agent. Obviously, we tried to sign him last year, but I think they couldn't agree on personal terms. Erik ten Hag really, really wants Adrien Rabiot. If anybody's watched him in the Euros, like, he's starting for France in the Euros ahead of Camavinga, ahead of Tchouaméni. Like, he is clearly a quality player, 29 years of age. And for me personally, if bringing him in means we can let Eriksen and Casemiro go, then I think it's the correct decision. Rabiot is definitely better than Eriksen and Casemiro. Rabiot is better than McTominay. Rabiot is better than Hannibal Mejbri. Rabiot is better than Donny van de Beek. Like, we have to take baby steps. We can't just suddenly have a whole squad of world-class players. You have to do it in small little chunks. And I think Rabiot would be a massive improvement on what we've got. I think he's got, a good mentality. He's got a good level of experience. And so apparently he wants to join Manchester United. He is waiting for Manchester United. And apparently Manchester United are now in talks with his agent, who is actually his mother. Apparently she is notoriously difficult to deal with, asks for ridiculous amounts of money. So we'll wait and see what happens with this one. But he is officially a free agent on the 30th of June. So we can get him for nothing. He's probably, a 30, 40 million pound player. He can play as a CDM. He can play as a midfielder. He's exactly what we need. And I think him as a free transfer, alongside another midfielder, who we will talk about in a minute, is exactly what we should be looking at. But I guess the main somewhat issue is going to be wages. He's on about 150k a week at Juventus, which I think is probably pretty reasonable. He's obviously going to ask for more money to come to Manchester United. I'm sure there'll be some sort of signing on fee. I think, as long as you don't go over, say, 200k a week, I think that would be okay. When you think that Harry Maguire is earning 200k a week, you think that Casemiro and Varane were on 350k a week. I think, if he was to be on around 200k a week, I would have no issue with that. That would still put him on less money than Mason Mount. Mason Mount's on 250. Bruno's on 250. So I would have zero issues with giving him a contract for maybe 3 or 4 years, 200k a week, which is still him earning more than what he's earning at Juventus. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Rabiot. I think he is a quality player. Amnat says Rabiot isn't better than Casemiro. Historically, Casemiro was obviously a better player, mate, but Casemiro was awful last season. Casemiro was the captain of Brazil and has been dropped. He's not even in the Brazil squad. Whereas Rabiot is out playing for France, one of the favourite teams to win the Euros. He's starting for them. Casemiro's off on holiday. He's not even on the bench for Brazil in the what's it called, Copa America. So it's easy to say, oh, Casemiro's better, right? More people in the chat saying Casemiro is better than Rabiot. Casemiro's 33 in like a month. Rabiot just turned 29. Casemiro in his prime is definitely better than Rabiot, but Casemiro isn't in his prime anymore. That's pretty obvious to see. He's a declining player. Erik ten Hag didn't even put him in the team for the FA Cup final. He's been dropped by the Brazil squad. He's been stripped of the captaincy. He's definitely going down and down and down and down and down. Somebody says this is the worst Brazil team for decades. I mean, if you're saying it's the worst Brazil team for decades and Casemiro can't even get on the bench, then that kind of says something, doesn't it? Dennis says, I actually think Casemiro would have a great season with a consistent team around him and not playing at centre-back, but I would still sell him to Saudi. Yeah, I did say that on the show yesterday, to be fair, that, it's easy to criticise players last season, but we didn't have a back four. We were missing quite a few players. So maybe Casemiro does deserve another chance, maybe, but yeah, I'm not sure. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favor and smash a like, that would be really, really appreciated. The more people that like the videos, the more that YouTube's algorithm will then recommend it to other people. So if you are just joining, please do make sure to smash a like and subscribe to the channel as well. I think we're only a couple away from 23,500, so please go and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know whether you want Rabiot. I just think, for me personally, right, it would be stupid to miss out on him. He's clearly a good player. I would give him only maybe a 2 or 3 year contract, and I think him alongside a younger option like a João Neves, like a maybe a Yusuf Fofana, maybe Amadou Onana, someone like that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Rabiot is going to be, here for the next 10 years, but he is an improvement on Eriksen. He's an improvement on Casemiro, I think, personally. So it's a no-brainer, really, because he's a free transfer. But you can let me know if you disagree. That's obviously completely fine. Let's move over to Joshua Zirkzee then. So the headline coming out of Italy this morning is that apparently AC Milan have now lost the advantage in the race to sign Joshua Zirkzee and have now moved on to explore other targets. So the current update is Manchester United are negotiating with Joshua Zirkzee's agent, who obviously is asking for this massive signing on fee. I think it's about £12 million. Apparently, he's willing to reduce that for Manchester United. He has a good working relationship with Manchester United. Omari Forson used to be is one of his players. Reguilon is one of his players, and I think from what I've read, he has a good relationship with Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. So I can see this deal happening, to be honest. I was doing a bit of research on his agent, and his name is... What's his name? There he is. Yeah, that's his name. The company he owns is called Sports Invest Limited. But yeah, he's got quite a few players who have been at Manchester United. Famously, the most famous player he had was Tevez. He used to have Carlos Tevez when he was at Man United. But yeah, apparently he's got a good relationship with Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe. So yeah, we'll see if that one happens. But I do personally think that Joshua Zirkzee would be a great signing. I think he probably will end up coming. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Yeah. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Where are we? Let's see what else we've got. Somebody says Rabiot is not a bad player. He is an improvement to the current squad. I would agree with that, definitely. Akash says Zirkzee's agent wants 15 million. Not a chance. We need to walk away. I think it's 12 million, mate. 12 million pounds. And apparently he's willing to do less for Manchester United. That's what that's what I've been told. And that's kind of what's being reported in the media today. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. But I think it'll be a good deal. I do. Because the thing you have to remember is, right, his release clause is only £34 million. He's definitely worth more than that. We paid £70 million for Rasmus Højlund last season, who was playing in Serie A, had scored less goals, less assists, and had effectively achieved less than what Joshua Zirkzee has. So although you have to pay although you have to pay some sort of agent fee, you're still getting a player who's worth more than 34 million. You know, he's probably worth 45, 50 million realistically. Yeah, but let's wait and see what happens with that one. I think he would be a really good signing. I think he would offer us something very different to what Højlund does. I think they're very different players. Darren says maybe this agent fee for Zirkzee is linked to his release clause. Yeah, of course it is. There is no way on earth that Zirkzee is worth £34 million. He's worth way more than that, for sure. You know, you only have to look around Europe at transfers over the last kind of 12 months. You know, you look at, say, Kolo Muani. You know, he moved from... he's at PSG now, right? PSG paid €95 million for Kolo Muani. Is Kolo Muani that much better than Joshua Zirkzee? Probably not. Like, they also bought... What's he called? I can't remember his name. My head's gone. I can't remember. But you get the point here. Like, the striker market is a very, very difficult one to get good players in. And there isn't that many options out there. Gonzalo Ramos, that was the name I was thinking of. PSG paid 65 million euros for Gonzalo Ramos. Is Gonzalo Ramos that much better than Joshua Zirkzee? I don't think so. So effectively what's happening here is the release clause is low and the agent / the player / his family want to be compensated because, you know, they feel like the club are getting a good deal. It's just the way that football's gone. It's annoying, it's frustrating, but there's not really that much we can do about it, you know. It's just the way that it is. Everyone in the chat seems to say that Zirkzee would be a good signing. Let's have a look at the results of the poll then. So I asked the question, should Manchester United sign Rabiot as a free transfer? 66% of you say yes, we should, and 34% of you say no. I'm in the yes camp, but obviously I appreciate other people's opinions. Right, let's move over to Mason Greenwood then. So obviously Lazio have apparently submitted a bid of £30 million plus add-ons for Mason Greenwood. Manchester United are apparently asking for 40 million plus add-ons. My understanding is that Manchester United will find some sort of middle ground with Lazio. Probably around £35 million will end up being the transfer fee plus add-ons. I think it's a good deal. I think sending him to the Serie A is probably a good place for him to go. And it means that we would then have, you know, a minimum of £35 million, 100% profit to go and reinvest in other players, which will honestly, it will massively help our options this summer. And I just hope that we get this deal done soon. But the headline is that Mason Greenwood to Lazio is now looking like a very likely deal to happen. It says Lazio have submitted a bid of £30 million for Mason Greenwood. United want to get around 40 million, and it's understood Lazio are likely to also include performance-related add-ons to their bid. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that one. I think I'm pretty sure Mason Greenwood will end up moving to Italy, I think, because that's where most of the interest is. Obviously, Juventus are interested, Lazio are interested. So, yeah, it's just a matter of when, not if, I think. But obviously, you can let me know how much you think he is worth in the comment section below. Stephanie says, do you think Zirkzee is better value for money than Elise? I mean, they're different players. I would say so, yes, because one's 60 million and one's 34 million. And apparently the news this morning is that apparently Crystal Palace are trying to agree a new contract with Elise, but I don't know why he would sign a new contract, being honest. I mean, he clearly wants to leave. Malp says Todibo and Elise not happening. Yeah, I would agree. Todibo's definitely not happening. And Elise, I reckon, will probably go to Chelsea, being completely honest. Nigel Red says Greenwood sale will pay for Zirkzee. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you're completely right there. Yeah. Right, the final story I've got for you today is about a central defensive midfielder, and it's coming from Fabrizio Romano, and the headline is that Manchester United are considering a bid for West Ham midfielder Edson Alvarez. I mean, that's a mic drop moment. Obviously, Edson Alvarez was one of Erik ten Hag's players at Ajax. I don't think he's been particularly good at West Ham, to be completely honest. I thought we were moving away from letting Erik ten Hag sign every single player. The way it's going, we're going to sign Edson Alvarez, who was at Ajax, Joshua Zirkzee, who's Dutch, and God forbid we'll get De Ligt as well. Those will be our free signings. I mean, those are literally all Erik ten Hag players. And I said when Erik ten Hag was announced as staying, it was the correct decision, but I wanted to see more from Omar Barada, Jean-Claude Blanc, from the scouts. I wanted to see some more interesting names getting thrown into the mix. And so far, the names that we're most heavily linked to are people like De Ligt, who obviously played at Ajax under Erik ten Hag, people like Edson Alvarez, who played for Erik ten Hag at Ajax, and Joshua Zirkzee, who's obviously Dutch, so Erik ten Hag would know him well. But, I mean, if I look at it from another angle, Dan Ashworth, our director of football, hasn't even started work yet. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know who else is going to be doing the transfers, really. So maybe Erik ten Hag should have some involvement this year, you know? But I wouldn't sign Edson Alvarez. I don't think he's particularly good, to be honest. I think he's pretty average. And West Ham are going to probably want a hell of a lot of money for him. I mean, how much did they pay for him? They paid 38 million euros for him. So they're not going to sell him for anything less than that. You know, it's going to cost you probably 40 million pounds. To be fair, if West Ham still want McTominay, I would send McTominay to West Ham and take Edson Alvarez. I'd do that, but I just don't want to spend any of our transfer budget on Edson Alvarez, being honest. You know, say they wanted Harry Maguire, you know, in a straight swap deal, or they wanted McTominay in a straight swap deal, I think that would make sense because, you know, he is a CDM and we need a CDM, Edson Alvarez. But what the point I'm making is if we're going to have to go out and spend money on a CDM, he wouldn't be my number one option. But if in a hypothetical world there was some sort of swap deal, you know, Matt Maguire for Alvarez or McTominay for Alvarez, then I think that would be worth looking at. But all I'm saying is at the point of recording this video, knowing that Manchester United are considering Edson Alvarez doesn't really excite me. But it all depends on the context, doesn't it? You know, if we went to go and bought him for 50 million, I'd be like, what the hell are we doing? But if there was some sort of swap deal or, you know, something like that, then obviously it would maybe be a bit different. But yeah. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Chris says McTominay is a good squad player. He's a good squad player, I agree, but we've got lots of players who are similar to him. McTominay is better further up the pitch. Realistically, he's terrible as a CDM, but he is okay further up the pitch. You've got Mason Mount and Bruno as your two central attacking midfielders. Like, I don't know. I'm not desperate to sell McTominay. I was just giving a hypothetical, you know, perspective. Jason says, the only Alvarez I'm interested in is the one from Man City. Yeah, that's kind of fair. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. So the show later on today is going to be a little bit earlier. Obviously, England are playing. So I'm going to go live at 4 o'clock today, UK time, instead of 6, because 6 will be literally right in the middle of the England game. Please make sure to smash a like on the video before you leave. Please subscribe to the channel as well. We're literally 2 subscribers away from 23,500. So please go and subscribe. Let's try and hit that by the end of today. This has been Daily Red Devil. I'll speak to you all at 4 o'clock UK time. Have a great day, everybody, and speak later.